Your Uncle Don't Know Nothing podcast with your host Sauce, the analyst Doc Prime, Big Play Joe with the Holovingian, and Coach Peyton.
Just like Milton that was with Patriots, 1 year. Then they put him up. They saw the good sample size, and they said, "Well, let's get some trade assets for him." And Dallas came in and swooped him up. I think that was the steal of
So the
the
reason,
free agency.
but that's a whole different situation. The reason we got rid of Milton is for two reasons. One, because Drake May is our quarterback, and two, your backup quarterback needs to play the same style of play as your starter in order for your offense to have the same flow. And so Milton is not that kind of a
Drake,
quarterback. We would have had to
but
change the
Drake
offense for him.
Drake running the ball. I seen him do it for
Drake May is not a
for
running
three.
quarterback. Milton is a
But he,
running quarterback.
man,
You
Drake
know who
May.
Milton would
Hey,
back up very well?
I
Lamar
seen him for
Jackson.
3 years down here in North Carolina. The guy runs the ball when he wants to.
He's
Well,
not a running.
Shedeur,
He's not a.
Shedeur is
He's not a
supposed
running.
to Shedeur is supposed to be running the second team against the first team defense. So that's
Not
something
not
that's
as a
already
fourth stringer.
that's the talk. So if that being the case, then you really gonna see what's popping. I think that's crazy, but that's the talk that's been going around. He's gonna be with the second team against the first team defense. Now, why they want to do that, who knows? I don't really know what go on in training camp. I don't really know how they usually do things. You know what I'm saying? All of this is up in the air now because of that guy, because Shador's there.
No,
So
it's not.
I
It's
don't.
people want to try to change the rules because they want to believe in something rather than accepting the hardcore facts that are in front of them.
Well,
Like if
the hardcore
Shedeur was,
facts need to be proven. Like I need
but
to prove to throw him on the field. Let's see.
It,
That's the only way we're
it
gonna
he
know.
is,
it's
but
all
he's
it's
in
all
practice. The
assumptions.
coaches put the players out there who are going to give them the best chances, who they think are the best. That's it. The owner is in the coach's ears, like, "Hey, I made you guys draft Shedeur. I want you to give him a look." But the coaches are like, "Look, I'm going to order this in the positions in the way that I am rating them based on practice, not on what I hear on TV, not on what somebody told me, not on their personality, but on practice."
So
And the
which
coaches
coach? So
understand
did
your
the
full
OC come
strength.
out and say? Did the OC come out and say, "Hey, this guy, this ain't it"? Because I ain't heard that.
What do you mean? This not the coaches are going to come out, and the way they rate you is going to be your string. When they say you're the
Like,
fourth string, that means you are the fourth best
But
quarterback
they
we've
ain't
got.
said none of that yet, though. None of that's
They
been
have.
said. So
No,
they
they
you
so
got to
they
have.
think.
came they came
They
See,
out and
have. He's
said
been listed as
that
fourth
I
string.
got to look this up because I be listening to the radio all day. I ain't heard nothing about that.
so so
Let me
look.
look.
You
Let me
have to
look.
look
Let me
at
look this up.
this. You always got to look future. So the Browns want a new stadium. They want to get
He's not
funding
look
from
future.
the city. All you got to when it comes to QB franchises. If you want, you looking for the face of the franchise. Is it Dylan Gabriel? Is it Joe Flacco? Is it Deshaun Watson? So they gotta know what's on that field if they want to, get that new stadium they trying to get
No,
because
you.
Haslam's
They
trying to
already
do a
have.
big complex. They trying to do. They already broke they bought everything, but they haven't got the funding and the private from the taxpayers and the city and stuff because they got that Art Modell rules, so they can't leave the city of yeah, it's crazy now because our Modell when he jumped on that Mayflower, moved the whole team in the middle of the night and snowstorm to Baltimore. That was crazy. We saw that on TV in the 80s.
All
It was
right. So
like, man,
as of right now, the Browns have not officially announced the quarterback rotation.
Who
So
told you
don't
that?
nobody know what's going on but them. So
Who
everybody
said they
spec.
haven't announced?
I just googled it.
Who's reporting that though? Because that's not what ESPN is reporting. That's not what CBS is
Well,
reporting.
let me see what ESPN reporting because I've been listening
ES,
to ESPN all day.
ESPN has a depth chart on them. And there's even a
Yeah,
thing from Akron Beach
but hold
Journal where
on.
Shedeur
But hold
said,
on. The
I,
ESPN can have what they want to have. If the coaches ain't announced it, it don't mean nothing.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
where are they getting the information? Where are they getting the information for the depth chart? Where are they getting that from? They
Hold
got a
on.
leaker in
Here's
there.
an article right
Look,
here. They asked
they-
Shedeur.
they-
He said, "I've got to be where my feet are." Shedeur Sanders not focused on Brown's quarterback depth chart. There's a depth chart every single day of practice. Like
all right.
that's
So this what ESPN is reporting. They ain't got no official. They don't have no official nothing. But they are reporting. ESPN articles highlight the Browns' significant offseason activity at the quarterback position, adding 4 new players. So what they doing is they speculating, and what they're speculating is Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and then Shedeur Sanders. Now
so. There's
most people gonna go against that and say, "Oh no, we know Joe Flacco starting."
so
But
no.
according to
That's
ESPN, they got Kenny
so
Pickett first.
they're going by a couple things. They're going by the way that they're running the practice. You know who the first team, who the second team, who the third team, who the fourth, by the way they practice. The history of the Cleveland Browns practice, the starter does this, the backup does that, da 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 da. They're watching that.
Mm-hmm.
And every single week they're watching the patterns unfold. They're tracking the number of first team reps. The only quarterback in that room to get less than 10 first team reps is Shedeur. The
That's
person who's
fine.
gotten the
That's fine,
lion's
but that's
share
not
of
what we're
them
talking
is
about. What we're
Kenny
talking
Pickett.
about is, hold on, what we're talking about is, did the Browns say? No, they didn't say nothing. So everybody
No
is
team
going
announced
off
the
of
preseason depth chart.
And
whoever,
unless I
whoever.
know that everybody look at the depth chart that way, and I swap the practices around to throw you off, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
If I know that
no team
everybody do
announced.
that,
We don't
and
know
I don't
what's
want
This is
going
people
how
on
to
we
in
know what's
figure it out.
going on.
right. We
Like this
don't
is
know what's
how we
going on
knew
in the Browns
Russell.
organization, except for them. They haven't come out and officially said nobody's doing nothing. I mean, so
So
at this
are
point,
you?
like, I'm gonna go off
But
of
what
what
is?
I'm gonna
Are
go
you
off of what
saying?
I'm gonna go off of
So
what
you're
Chad
saying the
said.
depth chart is going to have Shedeur at like 2 or 3?
I don't know, but I'm going off of what Shedeur said. When they asked Joe Flacco, how does he is he mentoring the guys? He said, "Well, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but nah, I ain't mentoring." So Ocho Cinco said, "Listen, man, I say it for you." Hell no, I ain't mentoring. I'm trying to win a job. I got a job to do. I ain't mentoring nobody to take my job. So
Yep.
I run with that. You know what I'm saying? Why Joe Flacco ain't there to babysit nobody. He don't care nothing about none of them. He trying to get his job done. So right now, it's just good conversation. Ain't nobody got no knowledge of nothing concrete that's going on in there. They don't have a first round pick, because if they had a first round pick or a second round pick, we'll be like, oh, we know what's going on. But no, they ain't got none of that. So everything is up in the air over there. All they have is
Hmm.
Joe Flacco, who they signed, free agent they signed, who's a veteran quarterback, who it seems like he will be the starter because of his accolades, because he a veteran, and because they went and got him for a reason. The rest of those dudes, they we don't know what's gonna happen with them. Now it's good to
Somebody could
say,
get
oh,
traded
Shedeur,
before minicamp.
but
Somebody could
it's
get
good to
injured on
say,
another team.
it's easy to speculate. Say, oh, Shador's not practicing with the first squad. He ain't getting no reps. So yeah, we know he ain't playing, but we don't know nothing.
But the
Now
OTAs are about to be over
looking
with.
at that information, you can make a educated guess, and say, oh, this is what's going on, like the rest of the world doing. But until the Browns come out and say, hey, this is the concrete joint right here, everybody's still speculating.
Yeah, me, I don't go by the depth chart and stuff because we know things happen in OTAs and training camp. Injured player gets injured. They need somebody immediately. And they go around, owners going to make calls and GMs make calls, say, hey, what about this person? Is he available? Then they'll strike a deal. I mean, everything is speculation is or assumptions when it comes down to players, and until to game one, week one happen, don't nobody know.
Well, we'll see some
Nobody.
in preseason. Like
Okay.
you got veteran quarterbacks, Hall of Famers, and everything. They talking big praise on Shador from what they say they saw, or from watching him in college. But we
Who
can't go
says
off that.
negative things about any player at this point? Nobody. You
Oh
only
yeah, they
say
do.
positive.
Oh yeah, they
Who?
do. Go on
Who said
YouTube and
something
Google
negative?
Shedeur Sanders.
No. I said what players are saying negative things about their teammates at this time of the season?
No, I'm
None.
saying
Or coaches?
I'm
None.
talking about quarterbacks that already played and retired. You know, like Drew Brees, not Drew Brees,
But they
like Drew
don't know.
Bledsoe.
But they
But
don't
what I'm
know
saying
anything.
is these guys know football better than the analysts know football. They know what's going on. But just because Drew Bledsoe said he see star qualities that you can't buy, that you need to be successful in the league, that he says he sees Shedeur with, that don't mean he gonna start. That's just a
Mm-hmm.
guy saying, hey, I see the qualities that you gotta have to be successful in this league. For example, he said when he was asked, he said, hey, uh, what do you see in Shedeur? He said, first of all, I don't know how he slid from 1 to 5. I don't know what that had nothing to do with, but hey, it happened. He said, but what I see is he got the ability to throw guys open. He said, you got to have that ability in the National Football League. He said, guys got big arms and they wait till somebody get open. But in this league, if you wait to see an open guy and throw the ball to him, that's a no-no. You got to be able to throw the guy open. He said that. And then he told he was on Colin, what's the guy name? Colin
Oh, coward,
Cowherd. Yeah, he's a big time
coward.
Shedeur hater. He hates Shedeur. So he
Yeah.
told him, he also
He
said
ain't
to him,
heard about
he said, listen,
it.
he said, I'm gonna tell you another thing I see in the kid, and you can't teach this. This is something you gotta already have. I don't think you can teach it. He said, you gotta have a guy that's tough and wants to play. He said the schools that you just named, they got all the big guys up front. They're not getting touched. They're throwing the open guys. He said, but this guy was getting his tail knocked off, and he was getting up and he was making plays and he was resilient. He said, you can't buy that. He said the way he is in the pocket, he's patient and he's poised and he make good decisions under that type of pressure. This what Drew Bledsoe is saying. So I'm not a quarterback. I ain't going to no Hall of Fame. I never been to a mini camp. None of that. That's what that guy was saying. But even though him and others give Shedeur certain praises, that don't mean that the Browns is sitting around saying, hey, he gonna be our starter. Just like all the speculation is going around, like, oh, he didn't take no first team reps, so he's gonna be in the trash can. We don't know that for sure, because they haven't said nothing.
Well, we do
Yeah.
know for sure he didn't take first team reps. That's not.
We
That's
know
not
we
hypo.
know
That's
that,
not.
but we don't know what that means. But we don't know what that
Every.
means. We
I,
can
I
speculate.
mean,
We can speculate what it means, but I wouldn't bet my life on it.
but we've been. Hold on. I'm not saying everything you've said up to now has not been right, but acting like all of a sudden the classic rules of football don't matter. Even in college, we know that if a kid coming out of high school has never played a snap in D1 football and in practice before the season, they're not taking first team reps. That kid is not going to be ready to play. There is a massive difference between throwing a hitch route against the second, third, or fourth string cornerbacks and the starters. There's a difference in speed, physicality, game plan, pressure, etc. If you're not taking first team reps, you're not going to be prepared to play. Now, I don't know why he's not taking first team rep. I don't know what the plan the Browns have from him. But if he's not right now, that tells you something about how the coaching staff has evaluated him and how they're evaluating the other quarterbacks on the roster. Kevin Stefanski's won Coach of the Year, I think, twice. So he knows what he's doing. I don't know what's up, but I just know if he's not taking first team reps, that is a lot of the information you need. That matters more than what Drew Bledsoe thinks, than what Colin Cowherd says, than what his dad says. Who's getting the reps tells us a lot about what's happening on that field.
Well, that was
Yeah.
OTAs. That was the rookie OTAs and
Yep.
OTAs. So training camp is different than OTAs. Things can
No.
change.
These aren't the rookie OTAs. These are the voluntary trainings that the players are doing, which is why Kenny Pickett is there, Joe Flacco is there. The rookie OTAs were completely different. There really is no first team, second team.
Mhm.
But when they came to these, now Myles Garrett wasn't there. But when they came to these, this is when you have actual first team guys there, and they're starting to play at closer to the speed. Closer to the preseason, we're going to see something. But I will tell you that everything builds. So unless there's a change in first team reps here recently, you're going to see going into the beginning of camp and into the preseason, Shedeur at the bottom of the depth chart. Why? What that means? The coaches will probably never say anything negative about him because why rip on the quarterback on the bottom of your depth chart as a rookie? There's no point. You got to give him time to grow. So we're never going to know exactly why. We just can see the evidence, right? The proof is in the pudding. Who are they putting on the field?
Yeah. I guess we'll find out. We definitely gonna find out. Now, my question is, what difference does it make if he don't start? Does
Oh, hold on,
that
I had to look up something. I had to look up something. I had to look
okay?
up the rookie Tom Brady take first team reps, and he did not.
I was about to. You
Oh,
took my thunder, bro.
Tom
you
Brady did not
comparing
You
him
take
took
to
my
first team
Tom
thunder.
reps.
Brady?
Hold on. Tom Brady did not take first team reps as a rookie in 2000, according to the New England Patriots.
And he
Sports
did not
Illustrated.
start.
No, he ain't starting.
And he
He
Drew
did
didn't
not
Bledsoe
play.
start.
got hurt.
So,
It
so,
took
He
Drew
didn't
so
play.
Bledsoe getting that block knot for them
Right.
to
He
get
So,
yeah,
didn't
him.
just
Drew
not start. He
Bledsoe got
didn't
hurt.
play.
so I said that to say this. I don't think I never thought Shedeur was gonna start. Period.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I never saw him starting. Um.
Yeah,
So,
I put him in the
but
Warren
when
Moon
people say, "Oh,
slash
he's not
Kenny
taking reps with
McNair.
the first team," everybody said, "Yeah, I knew he was trash. That's why he ain't taking reps because he trash." That don't mean that. He not gonna start. Period. I don't. If anybody thought this man was gonna start, and there's a lot of analysts saying I would start him, whatever, whatever. But y'all not
Yeah,
coaching the
there's a
team.
lot of
Your
Drew
livelihood
Bledsoe
don't
and
depend.
others.
Listen, their livelihood don't depend on it. On so
Steve
Okay.
McNair didn't start for 3 years.
so a
Aaron
person
Rodgers
so a
didn't start for
person
three
looking in
years.
like me, I'm thinking, nah, no starting. I mean, I can't see him starting when
It's
you
a
go
whole lot
into a
of
team that
NFL.
already got Joe Flacco and Pickett, who trash or not trash, trash or not trash, the man has played.
Yeah.
So you're going back to the that's kind of what I was saying. So as before, very reasonable. I'm saying reason I was saying that there's people saying that Shedeur is going to start like game 3. He will be the starter for the rest of the season. And I'm saying based on what is happening in the practice, the way they're trying to develop him, I don't see that happening. Now that doesn't mean that Shedeur is trash, that he's not ever going to be a good quarterback, that he's not developing. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means the Browns are doing what I think historically more teams should do with players that they draft and want to develop. Bring them along and keep their confidence high slowly. Don't just throw them out there and then have them face adversity that they're not ready for, that they haven't shown you in practice that they can overcome. And I think the
Look,
Browns are doing the smart thing. That's why they have Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, because those two guys, throw them out there. Let them get the ridicule. Let them play unprepared, etc., and continue to develop your two young quarterbacks and see what do I have. Worst comes to worst, one of them's no good. You get rid of them. The other one is you keep them. Best thing could happen
mhm.
is both of them are studs. You trade one for a whole wreck of picks, and now you're set for the future. But
Yep.
people, and there's a lot of famous people, are saying, "Oh yeah, this doesn't mean nothing. Shedeur is going to be starting because da da da," and that's what I think is a bad take. Like, no, that's
I
probably
think
not
that's
going to
far
happen.
fetched. And to your point
Yeah.
about maybe having two studs like Washington did when they had RG3 and and Kirk Cousins. That man,
They
listen,
did.
Washington fumbled that.
They did.
they did.
They
No. RG3
iconic
fumbled that.
Yeah,
mistake.
they fumbled
The
that.
No,
iconic mistake they
RG3.
made was putting that boy back in that game
Yep.
when you
Against
got
the
Kirk
against
Cousins.
Baltimore.
But you
When
got Kirk
Baltimore. Yep.
Cousins.
They should have. You're right, and that makes it even worse. They should have put Kirk Cousins in and let RG3 rest and heal, and they probably would have won that game.
Well, you know what happened, right?
For sure.
Because he was tight with Snyder. He went over the Shanahan head and told him, "Oh yeah, Snyder, I'm fine. I can play. I can still play." And Snyder overrode the doctors and the Shanahans, and Mike had to put him in the game. Then he ended up getting hurt with Baltimore and stuff again, and that messed his whole career up. But a lot of the players, they was pissed because they had a backup. They was good. Like they was already getting ready to go into the playoffs. They could have put Cousins in until he got healed, but RG3 got the big head because he was the number one draft
He
pick,
was a bad man
and he
though
knew he was
at that
tight.
time.
Yeah,
He was.
yeah, at
He
Yeah,
that
when he
time,
was,
was
man.
yeah,
He
healthy.
was. He was the Jaden
yeah, he was
Daniels back
healthy.
then. He was good.
Hey fellas, what
Like
y'all
he
think
was
about
crazy.
Dylan Gabriel though?
I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him to think anything. I think he's just like any other
Uh,
rookie quarterback. He could be something. He could not.
Man played football for 7 years in college.
Well,
You know what I mean?
he had to be good.
7 years.
Was that due to
Well,
injury?
I mean,
Nope.
I don't really think too much of that. Tom Brady played 5 years, so I mean,
What
like
about
people play
COVID?
more. COVID
Who?
took some time away from people. Yeah,
Did
COVID.
COVID make him play 7 years?
In order to play 7, he had to have some years of eligibility given
Oh
back
yeah, it
due
was
to
I
COVID.
was going
injury
to say something
or
It
was
was
given
COVID.
back
COVID.
in order
It
for him
was
to do
COVID.
that.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
Was
the
it
new
COVID?
quarterbacks with the NIL deals and COVID kind of rolled in there at the same time. A lot of guys like show from that got drafted by the Saints. He played 6 years, but he was injured most of the time. Couple, you seen a lot of like even should I think Shedeur, then he like COVID shortened one of his years. And it's weird. Like a lot of players, you look at the ages now and they getting drafted. The average age, I say like 23. It's kind of it's higher now.
But there is
What
something to say about a quarterback um, who maybe not follow the traditional path and maybe take a longer path to get into that starting position. I mean, let's look at Kurt Warner, for instance, right? Like he didn't
Oh
take the
yeah,
traditional path and
he
he
went
right.
back
went
with
way out
roaches.
and
He
came
went
back
back with
in.
roaches.
So he kind of blossomed later in his career. I don't fault any quarterback or any player for figuring out what their best path is, right? It may not
Yeah,
always be the straight path that you see other quarterbacks take, and I don't have a problem with that at all. Let's see what
Chris
happens
Winkie.
over time.
Yeah, Chris Winkie, Florida State. He did the same thing. He went to play baseball and then he came back and played quarterback and got drafted by the Panthers in the first round. It's a couple other guys that did it, but you know, coming in late. The Georgia quarterback that's the backup in LA, same thing. He was 25 when he got drafted,
All
and he
right,
won a
check this out,
national
fellas.
championship.
Let me throw this at y'all right quick. I don't know if you heard about it yet, but it's been making big news, well, huge news actually. A lot of people conflicted about it, but the judge ruled starting July the 1st that college players, not just football, ought to be paid now. What you think about that? And this is outside of the NIL. And I think as far as the NIL is concerned, if there's any deal cut with a player, as far as the NIL is concerned, anything over $600 has to be authorized. And they're trying to be real transparent with it. A lot of people have a problem with it because they see a lot of room for wiggling. What's to stop somebody from giving a kid, a brown paper bag full of money?
What they've been doing since the 70s.
Right. So some people think this is opening up a door to go backwards. I thought the NIL was good. What I think is get rid of the NIL and just pay the guys, pay the team players, and they get paid off performance, and the starting quarterback gonna get more than the third string.
Well, Ed O'Bannon, the one that opened that up. When they had his likeness on the NCAA basketball. I mean, yeah, that was
Do
college
you think this is
basketball.
good for
And
college sports?
Coach
Because you
K.
got to keep in mind. Listen, you got to
I
keep in
think it has to
mind.
be capped.
Well, it
Yeah.
is kinda. They have $2.8 million. No, $25 million. 25 point something $1 million to break up amongst the programs. So if football is your biggest program, you may allocate 80% of that to the football players, and then you break it up: basketball, uh, women's basketball, volleyball,
Man, them
baseball,
boosters gonna be
what
paying them
have you.
guys under the table.
So,
And
but
and
that
that's
So
what
sounds
a
like
lot
it
of
could
people.
be.
what separates professional from amateur or collegiate level? Well,
Money.
what was that was being paid. If
Yeah.
you are being paid for what you are doing, you are no longer an amateur. You are a professional.
Uh,
College, school, middle school, all of that is for amateur sports. Okay. Once I'm paying you to do that, now that becomes your job. Your job now is to do this sport. And to me, that makes you a professional. I
but
don't
that's
think,
already kind of been beaten. That argument has been beaten legally. Like even kids, LeBron James went to one of the best charter schools for free. That's getting paid. Scholarship is payment. There's a
okay,
But
but
this
monetary
is
then
an
that,
value.
actual
but,
paycheck, though.
but it's
Well,
not a
no, but I'm
You
just
get
paycheck.
saying payment
you get
versus
all the free
paycheck.
shoes. You get
That's
free
a
a lot
legal.
of free
That,
apparel.
they're they're legally kind of equivalent, right? You're getting paid. You are getting compensated to do something for me. If you stop doing that thing, like if LeBron James at that school was like, you know what, I'm not going to play basketball anymore. He's not staying at that school. So that is
True.
payment, right? Normally, money is tied to doing something, right? That's payment. I think it's fine to pay schools. I think that putting a cap on schools is kind of unfair. Think about schools that have great both basketball, baseball, football programs like UNC. Now they got to cut 25 million across those three programs where a school like Duke, who's only got one good program, gets to just overspend. I don't think that's fair. And I
Yes.
also think, why cap it? These let them make as much as they want. Is it good for college sports? I think players getting paid was immaterial to the destruction of conferences and the format for like bowl games that mattered back in the day. That has hurt the game more than anything, where you basically have one mega conference. The SEC is trying to break away from college football. That's happening in all the different sports. I think that's hurt the sport, not paying the players. They want you to focus on the paying of the players. I don't think that's it. I think it's good for a lot of kids because a lot of kids go to college, they wreck their bodies for an opportunity to try to go pro, and they don't get the opportunity. And so now, though they didn't go pro, they made money, and so they're okay. Go, like some people say, go work at Enterprise with your saved up money, buy a home with that, work at Enterprise, finish your school, and then go do something else. But you tried, you put your body on the line. So yeah, paying them is fine. I don't think it's going to hurt college sports. And I don't think it's going to hurt pro sports either, because now the players who keep pushing and want to go to pro sports, it's not for the paycheck. It's not the Jamarcus Russell. Once I get that paycheck, I eat, I drink, I go do drugs, and I don't care. No, they're there. They already
Drake
got
Lee.
paid, right? Like Shedeur Sanders is already paid. He's playing because he loves the game and he wants to prove something. That is going to give him a huge opportunity to be great. But there's a lot of players in a lot of pro sports who many people will tell you they are there for one thing and one thing only: that contract. And that shows when they get that money and you're like, man, that guy's never been good again. You're like, oh, or when you see a player have an amazing year and they say, hey, it's a contract year. It's all tied to the money. So I think it'll help all of sports, pro and college. Pay these guys and don't cap it. Pay them what they deserve.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. The reason why a lot of this stuff is falling off, especially on the college level, the transport portal has definitely impacted college football. Period. Can nobody follow nobody no more. It's like somebody you betting. It's like you're a casual fan and you betting on sports. All you want to do is walk in the bar and look at see the team winning, looking at your fantasy football and roll out. That's really hurt college football. Period. Like you can't even you ain't no 3 year starter running back and all that that really paved his way and he's a household name. Man, he next thing like what Gabriel went from no Bo Nix. Bo Nix went from Auburn. Then he went where did he go to Oklahoma? No, Gabriel went to
Um,
Oklahoma. Like
no,
this, and then he
Gabriel
went
went
to
to 3
Oregon, and
colleges.
then he went to
Bo
Oregon.
Nix went to a
Like
lot
it's
of
just
different
all
schools.
over the
Yeah,
place.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
a
but
lot of
one
players
thing,
are moving schools. That's a problem. I would agree on that one. The transfer portal, you don't build up like Tom Brady's that Michigan man. You used to have like Troy Aikman. I
Hey,
think what is he,
loyalty.
Arizona State or Georgia? What is it, Georgia?
No, no, he
no,
went to no. Troy Aikman went to Oklahoma, then UCLA.
yeah.
Right. Like you used to have these guys who had like these big programs that they were iconic for. And now you kind of have players who like go to all these different big programs and you can barely remember like which one they went to last. Like, well, were they good there? They're just bouncing around. I think it hurts the fan base at the colleges.
Well, another thing, let's think about the player for a minute. Okay, what incentive do I have? Who was it? Marvin Hagler said, it's hard to get up and box and fight when you're sleeping on silk sheets. It's hard to get up and study and be ready for class and to put your attention into schoolwork. You getting $1.8 million. What do I need to finish this class for? Why do I need to graduate? What do I need to do? So now I got $2 million. I'm a sophomore. I'm gonna just bounce. Okay. But what happens if you get hurt? Is that $2 million gonna last you your whole life? Can that $2 million plus working at the fry counter at McDonald's last you your whole life? Like what skill set you have, young man, when you just took $2 million and you threw the books out the window? I think that this is gonna be bad. I do. I don't think that this is a good example that we want to show for amateurism in our country because basically once I pay you to do this, you are no longer an amateur. You are a professional. So basically we got pro light is what you're saying. We're going to have a pro light league. Okay,
But they
well
already were.
that no. The reason why this is not the same is because everybody can get a scholarship. It doesn't have to be for football or sports. You could get a scholarship for your scholarship. People who make good grades can get scholarships. So there is no disparity. There's no unevenness, I should say, of outcome in terms of how you treat the students, the student body. Hey, he got a scholarship because he was good at math. He got a scholarship because he could run the football. Okay, but they're both on scholarship. They're both amateurs and they're both equal. But all of a sudden now we're going to say, okay, you get a scholarship because you're good at math. You get $1.8 million because you can run the football. I think that that's a bad look. Now,
But
if you
that already happens for players. Players are getting paid when they're in grad school. There's grad students who are getting paid to be on campus.
graduate school is different.
Yeah.
The NCAA don't have grad school. The NCAA is undergrad.
There are musicians at some of these schools getting paid,
Okay.
and
I
it's not
mean,
on
if I knew
scholarship.
more
Like I'm
about
saying,
that,
there's
I may make
people.
that same argument. All I'm saying is
Yeah.
that when you introduce money,
Yeah, you-
when you introduce money into it, and now money is what I'm doing, I am no longer an amateur anymore. I am a professional
All right. Well,
because
So
listen.
then,
I
I
earn my
think both of
living
y'all making.
doing.
I think both of y'all making really good points. I think y'all both have a valid argument. But let's take it a little bit deeper. All right. Now, what does this do to that high school player? Because now is the high school player aspiring to go to the NFL, or is he aspiring to get to college to make money?
you can't come out to your junior year
And
or
and
you're a
and
redshirt
how does that
sophomore.
affect the trajectory of
You, you got to
is
be
the
a
NFL is making it to the NFL now to a high school player? Is it still as prestigious, or is it college or bust?
yes, it's still as prestigious. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like going semi-pro, right? Like baseball. Baseball's had a farm system forever, right? Triple A, double A, da da da. You get paid at all of those levels, but every single one of those baseball
yeah.
players still wants to make it to the major leagues, even if they're in Triple A making $200,000-$300,000 a year, and they're like, man, I could do this for 20 years. They'll do it, but they want to make it to the major leagues because that is the highest level of accomplishment in the field.
When you
Everyone
get
always
called up, yeah.
right? And
Just
so the
call
So
it
same
up.
thing is going to be true. High school kids will say, "Well, I can get paid there," but and we've already heard this from players. I don't want to go to the school where I can get paid the most. I want to go to the school where I have the best chance of going to the
Right.
next level. That's why Shedeur left where he was before. Him and Dion could have stayed at that school and made a ton of money for both the school and themselves. They left because playing Division One, playing at Colorado against Pac-12 competition, was the best place to try to make it to the league and get better, not
and
to make money.
I hear
I
you, and
I
I
think you
said,
make a good point. Um, I think that I love the idea when you brought up about Major League Baseball and the baseball leagues, the under leagues, I should say. So basically, what the NFL is doing, not the NFL, but what this situation is doing is making the colleges the farm league for the NFL, right? That's basically what you're doing. If you're going to start paying these players, it's basically like that is the farm league. And I'm saying, I think if you want to make a farm league, make a farm league then. But don't take our amateur institutions as college and make that into a farm league and then make it into a semi-pro league. I just think the two are incompatible. I think it's not gonna work out the way
all
we
right.
think it's gonna.
With that being said, because I feel personally this way about the NBA. Are we are we getting away from the prize? The prize is always has been to be the best, win the accolades, and win the chip,
Mm.
hoist the trophy, get the ring. Is money replacing that? Because I see, to me, in the NBA, I feel these guys are more concerned with their bodies and money than they are with winning the trophy. Is this Can this happen in football? Because we just keep hearing money, 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 money. Yes, the colleges have been making a ton of profit of free labor. They have.
Billions.
They have. I don't think it's probably the only people that probably got more money than the colleges is the insurance companies.
And that's in escrow. And that stuff
You
in
know,
escrow.
so are we having the kids focus too much on money and not the real goal, and that's to become a champion?
Well, I'll say no for this reason. There's always been a focus on money. Just like Doc Prime was saying, if you talk about players in the past, you said, well, no, you need to be careful because what if you get hurt there? How are you going to make money? Well, when you're in college, it's not like you're getting paid. Well, money's always been an issue, right? You wanted to make it to the league to get paid. But then once you got paid, right, then there was a question mark. Well, do you want to get paid again? You want to get paid again? Think about it. NFL holdouts for more money has been going on since the 80s. Like
True,
this money has been always there. I
true.
think that what the real kind of thing here is, it's not about the players. These young kids play for the love of the game. That's why they put their bodies through this stuff. Aaron Donald left the game. He could have stayed and made more money, but he left the game because he's won a Super Bowl. He's accomplished everything he can, and he felt his body beginning to break down. He want to have a family. You've seen a lot of players step away kind of like that recently. Luke Kuechly did the same thing, and that man was a monster, right? I think what the real issue here is that college sports, especially college football, isn't really amateur anymore. Like college football makes so much money worldwide that it's not even funny. The college
Mhm.
football game for systems like PlayStation, Xbox, etc., actually sells more copies than the NFL version. That's how popular this sport is and how much money it generates from everything: merchandise, fans, the allegiances, the stadiums they pack out. You ever seen an Alabama stadium, man? It looks like a sea of people, man. That
100,000
Like
is
people
no
soccer.
plus.
longer amateur.
Yeah,
That's no longer amateur.
but what
That is
we were told that all that money was going into research centers. We were told that all that money was building new libraries on campus. We were told that all that money was being used for the academics of that particular college. But now we're saying no. We got that money and we can give it to the players. We got millions and millions of dollars that we can give to the players. Well, why don't we lower the price of the tickets then? Why don't we lower the price of people trying to get in to see the game? Why don't we do that since we got so much money? I just feel like that we've been given a bill of goods here, and I don't think the result is going to be what we expected it to be. When the bill come due 10, 15 years from now, we're going to look at students who are just not going to be dialed in. What incentive do I have to sit down here and study math, bro?
Hold
When I'm
on, but
making
there's
$2
these.
million?
Hold on, but the starters for an Alabama or a starter for Duke in basketball, these guys weren't doing schoolwork anyway. Derrick Rose didn't even
They
take his
got
own
AI.
SAT, right? Like these guys already are that guy. They already know and are getting paid in under the table ways, but they're not going to school. School's not going to do anything for them. These guys are the most gifted physical athletes, and let's pick somebody like Derrick Rose. Let's say you're starting guard at Kentucky, and something happens or whatever, and you don't get drafted. You're not going to work a regular job. You're probably going to go overseas to China or to France or to Italy, and you're going to play ball overseas. You're going to make money playing basketball, or you're going to coach. You don't need a degree for that. Your degree is the film you put the play you put on film. So I mean, getting the education and calling them students is questionable. They're athletes. That's what they're doing. They're putting their body on a line in a way no other students at that college are doing. And I think they deserve to get paid $25 million for Alabama is a drop in a bucket compared to what they make. That's like ticket
So
sales on one game.
yeah. Now, being a D1 athlete, played at Army, and your dad, was broke Army history there. It's probably being a faculty of the staff. Yeah, to get scholarship, when you get into the academy, things are different. Now, how is it different from, going to school like Air Force, um, going to Indianapolis, to the Naval Academy, and going to West Point? How different that is compared to the college football that you see the SECs and stuff. And those are three big time programs that I just named in the United States. How is that so different than the SEC?
Pertaining to what? Getting paid?
Yeah, and the structure. Because a lot of people don't know, that side um of football in D1. Because I always been intrigued on I know once you finish your academy, once you finish your degree at the academy, you got to do 2 years of service, and
5 years.
it might,
You got to do 5 years
yeah,
of service.
5 years.
5 years of service. My bad, 5 years of service. And you are remember the guy from Detroit was trying to buck on that so he could play for play for the Lions. Like, how
Yeah.
different is that compared to that those are three big time programs. Like one of my friend, what's the name, brother, coach that Air Force D, um Big D for the radio station. Remember his brother
Oh,
coached
yeah,
at
yeah,
Air
yeah,
Force.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
You
he
talking about the
coached
brother
at
that played
Air
for
Force.
Dallas, right?
Yeah, brother
Oh
played
yeah.
for Dallas.
Okay.
Then he coached at the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I could say the difference is kind of like this, and I'll say when you're at those service academies, you're only able to be a part-time football player. And what I mean by that is you're not able to dedicate as much time to your body and the craft as somebody at an SEC or University of Miami. Let's use Cam Ward as an example. Cam Ward was shocking teammates because he gets to the stadium, to practice at 5 a.m. and he does his full day of work until 5 p.m. And they said, man, why are you doing this? Da, da, da. He said, I've always done this. At the University of Miami, I always got in at 5 a.m. and got my work in because that's the only way to get all my work in, get my body right, get my film in, get my practice reps, get my weightlifting, my eating, etc., and be done by the time the workday is over. You can't do that at these service academies. You can't just go work on your football and your body from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then go get your rest. You have to split your time across a whole lot of different things. And that's what makes it more difficult for the service academies to get the players and for them to develop as much as you see a kid at an Alabama or a University of Miami, etc. They don't have the time to put in. However, that's kind of what takes me back to, if you're the University of Miami quarterback and you're at the stadium at 5 a.m. until 5 p.m., you know what that sounds like to me?
Revelry.
A job. That sounds
A
like a
job.
job. Okay.
It's a
And
job.
so
That's
you
my
should get
point.
paid
Yes.
for a job. That's a job.
Yeah, but do we really? I mean, but is that what we want? We want these kids who are in
Yes.
college to be
Yes.
dedicating 12 hours a day to football. What?
Yes.
Like maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's
That's
the
how we
problem.
get a Lamar Jackson. That's how we
I
get a
understand that.
Miles Garrett, a TJ Watt. Yes, I do.
All right. I
Well,
just I just think that it's not the pairing is not comparable because there are some colleges D1 that you just explained very eloquently. They cannot do it. Okay. And then you got other colleges, same level, same age, same athlete. They dedicate 12 hours, 14 hours a day to it.
let me
So
ask you this then, before we get out of here. Does the portal work for the service schools?
No.
Hell no.
So so it works this way.
Oh,
So it only works this way. It's easy for players to portal out of the service academies. It would be very difficult for players to portal in, because in order to get into a service academy, you got to meet grades, your athletic, your social life. You have a lot of things you have to kind of hit in order to transfer in. So it's not as easy or simple. It is possible, but only for players freshman or sophomore. Once you're past that, you can't just transfer in. And one of the things, if you transfer into a service academy, you have to start from scratch. You're a
yes,
freshman again.
you don't
You
get to
don't get to
start.
come in
Yeah.
and be, a sophomore or a junior. You come in as a freshman. So it does put them at a huge disadvantage, to transfer portal.
In 1951, the St. Louis Browns, now the Baltimore Orioles, sent Eddie Goodell, a 3'7" tall man, to the plate for a single at bat in a Major League Baseball game. Now, Eddie Goodell became the shortest player in MLB history, walking on 4 pitches thanks to a strike zone that was the size of a half of a cereal box. Now, this stunt was orchestrated by Browns owner Bill Veeck, known for his wild promotional ideas. Now, Goodell's one plate appearance remains one of the most iconic and legendary moments in baseball history. Fiction? Nope, that's a fact. And your uncle didn't tell you anything about that.